Who was going to trade a useless watermelon seed when I saw that? I thought about it for a second. A watermelon seed would definitely work in a planter box. So I clicked on that person's profile and sent a message. They replied fast. Hey, are you trying to trade for the watermelon seed? Yeah, but I am not offering bread. I am offering raw shrimp meat. As long as it is edible, I will take it. But where did you even get shrimp from? They seemed genuinely shocked, so I gave them a quick rundown of how I had gotten the shrimp meat. I am not big on eating raw meat, and it would go bad in a few days anyway, so I figured trading it for a watermelon seed made more sense. Really appreciate it, man. Next second, the watermelon seed came straight through the trade. Whoa, this shrimp is huge, man. My name is Nick. If you ever need anything, I am there, no questions asked. No worries, just doing what made sense. After that brief exchange, I closed the system interface. Sometime later, the fish started feeding, and I got ready to haul seaweed since I was worried about being attacked by shrimp again. I strapped the shrimp shell I had peeled yesterday onto my forearm for protection, and every time before reaching into the seaweed, I carefully checked through it first. Sure enough, I ran into 3 giant shrimp this time, even more than yesterday. But with a sharp spike in hand, I dealt with them quickly and easily this time. Shortly after today's first supply crate came rushing into the stomach space. Ding obtained 1 can of peaches and syrup, and I lit up. Nice, this one is solid. High sugar content means a lot of energy. While I was happily waiting for the second crate, Nick sent me a message. Hey, do you have any more spike shrimp meat? I paused slightly. They are called spike shrimp. It is in the bestiary, I just happened to find it. I immediately opened the bestiary, and sure enough, a new creature had been added. No wonder they kept hiding in the seaweed. Turns out algae is literally their food source. But right away a question hit me, so why had no one else encountered spike shrimp before? After thinking it through, I arrived at one explanation. Was it because I had been speeding up the fish's digestion every day, making it swim far longer than other fish, and therefore reaching waters where spike shrimp existed? That had to be it. Which meant I was already way ahead of everyone else, but that thought did not make me happy. It actually made me a little anxious because the farther we got from where we started, the more dangerous sea creatures we would encounter, and if the fish swallowed something I could not handle, I was probably done for. Hey, that spike shrimp meat is actually valuable. Eating it gives you a point of strength, so I want to trade you my blueprint for another piece of spike shrimp meat. When I read that, I was floored. Spike shrimp meat could actually add an attribute point. What blueprint did you get? An armor blueprint called the spike helmet. It looks like it is crafted from spike shrimp shells, and that made me smile again. Now that is a perfect match. An armor blueprint delivered right to my door, and I agreed to the trade without hesitation. Then immediately checked the requirements. Spike helmet required 3 complete spike shrimp shells. I had exactly 5 shells, which was more than enough. Only thing missing was cloth strips. So I decided to wait and see what today's supply crates would bring, and if I did not get cloth strips, I would just trade for some on the channel. Then I grabbed a piece of spike shrimp meat from the crate, decided to give it a taste, and surprisingly, it was not bad at all. Ding consumed spike shrimp meat, strength increased by 1. As soon as the system chime played, I quickly opened my stats panel, and sure enough, strength had gone up by 1 point. I could not feel any physical difference though, probably because it was only 1 point, so it was not really noticeable. 2 or 3 hours later, today's second supply crate came rushing in. Ding obtained 10 stones, 10 pieces of lumber, 10 cloth strips. I grinned, the cloth strips came through. I opened the spike helmet blueprint and hit craft 3 spike shrimp shells and 5 cloth strips dissolved into blue light. And soon a helmet with 3 upright spikes along the top appeared in my hands. I tried it on and it fit perfectly. Then I took it off again and carefully placed it inside an empty supply crate, planning to wear it when hauling seaweed tomorrow. Just then Nick sent me a message. Hey, I ate the spike shrimp meat. But this time I did not get a strength point. I nodded to myself unsurprised. Looks like spike shrimp meat only gives the strength attribute on the first consumption. Then Nick sent a slightly sheepish follow-up. Hey, the blueprint I traded you was actually pretty rare. Can you maybe throw in 1 more spike shrimp? I originally only had 2 when I traded you, and the other one I ate myself. How about tomorrow? If I manage to get more, I will send you 1. I replied without overthinking it, since the armor blueprint was genuinely worth more than 1 piece of shrimp. But I also had no way to verify whether Nick was telling the truth. What if he had eaten a second shrimp and still got the strength point, but was lying to me? That was not impossible. So the 1 remaining piece of spike shrimp meat, I would eat it myself tomorrow first, and only trade it to Nick after confirming it no longer added strength. Not long after, the sound of rushing water came from the esophagus. Today's final supply crate had arrived. Ding obtained 1 heat pack. I was a little excited. Does this mean I could cook the spike shrimp meat tomorrow? But I quickly talked myself out of it. No. This heat pack was single use. Burning it just to cook 1 piece of shrimp felt like too much of a waste when I woke up again. It was already day 4 in this world, and the first thing I did was eat the spike shrimp meat as breakfast. Nick had not lied to me. It definitely did not give strength anymore, which was a little disappointing. A short while later, the fish started feeding, and I put on the spike helmet I had made yesterday and waited to haul seaweed, but then I unexpectedly heard the giant fish's adorable voice in my head. So annoying. Why are there so many of these things? Always stealing my food. The fish sounded genuinely angry, which meant the spike shrimp were competing with it for algae. Looked like the seaweed would be packed with them today. I needed to be extra careful when hauling, and it seemed the fish had already swum into waters where spike shrimp were extremely dense. Suddenly, the entire stomach wall space shook violently, then began to tilt and finally nearly went vertical. I was caught off guard and slammed into the fleshy wall, but since the wall was soft, I was just a little dizzy with no other injuries. But all the water from the algae tank had spilled out, and the supply crates I had been accumulating over the past few days were scattered everywhere. Then I immediately hugged one particular crate tight, because it held the canned peaches and the heat pack, and those 2 precious items could not afford to get damaged. My mind was spinning with questions and panic. What just happened? Was the fish being attacked by another creature? Although the fish was enormous, in this unknown world there was no guarantee something even bigger would not come after it. Suddenly, a thunderous boom like a cannon blast tore through the fish's body and echoed into the stomach space. The shockwave from the sound hit me like a wall, and my head felt like it had been smashed with a hammer. Stealing my food, 1 tail swipe and you all fly! The fish's voice suddenly rang out and instantly explained everything that had happened. Well, there it is. It was just slapping shrimp. The tension in my chest released and the stomach space had returned to normal. After catching my breath, I stood the algae-growing tank back up. The water inside was nearly gone, but since the fish was about to eat again, I could just refill it then, and the scattered supply crates I carried back one by one. Then the fish began feeding and the seawater rushed in. I immediately opened the system interface and found the algae-growing tank. Hit repair and the water automatically filled back in. Then I got into the work of hauling today's seaweed while staying sharp to avoid getting stabbed by any spike shrimp. But when everything was finally hauled, I got a surprise. There were a full 10 dead spike shrimp lying in the seaweed, clearly all killed by the fish's tail slap. That sound earlier had nearly ruptured my eardrum, so the force was no joke. And this was only the first feeding round of the day, and I had already scored this many. So by the time the fish finished all its feeding today, could there easily be 50 or 60 total? But I realized if I just left the spike shrimp piled up, they would get washed away by the next round of seawater. So I came up with a solution. I would build a second algae-growing tank, and arrange both tanks in a V-shape along the stomach wall with the triangular zone. In the middle used to hold a spike shrimp, a second algae tank would not hurt anyway. I had plenty of materials, and quickly the second feeding round began. I piled the spike shrimp in a corner, and used my body to shield them from the water surge. Then opened the algae tank blueprint and successfully built the second one. Then arranged them in the V formation just as planned, perfectly surrounding all 10 spike shrimp. Now it was day 4 in this world, and during the fish's feeding, the incoming seawater brought with it an unidentified creature several meters long. And to make things worse, my flashlight battery ran out at the exact wrong moment. Without any light, the stomach space plunged into complete darkness. The next second, the unknown creature leapt out of the water and launched itself straight at me. I strained my eyes trying to see, but it was completely useless. The unknown terror expanded endlessly in the darkness. Suddenly, a sharp crack rang out as my head took a violent impact.